Do you know that there is a place in the world where there is an invisible wall, you can say, invisible wall, which no animal, bird, or fish can cross? It seems unbelievable, doesn't it? But believe me, it is true. Yes, today I will take you to a mysterious island where there is this invisible boundary wall, which we call the invisible line. Nature itself has created this mysterious wall. This boundary is between the islands of Bali and Lombok in Indonesia. Even though this line passes by each other, it is never possible for the animals of these two regions to cross this border. It is only 35 kilometers away. Even then, the animals of these two regions cannot go from one side to the other. Yes, there is an invisible force here that does not allow any animal to come or go here. That is, it does not allow them to cross this invisible wall. How do I explain it? Between the islands of Bali and Lombok, on one side there are one type of animal, bird, and fish. And on the other side, there are completely different types of animal, bird, and fish. When you reach Lombok from Bali, you will realize that everything you have seen has changed in an instant. Yes, if you go from Bali to Lombok, you will see the entire environment become different. And the strangest thing about this mysterious border is that it is not possible for any animal or fish other than humans to cross it. Not even a bird can fly. You must be wondering what is there in this 35 kilometers distance that animals cannot go from one side to the other. In fact, there is an invisible force behind this border that has kept the entire environment from each other invisibly. To know the secret of this invisible wall, we have to go back 150 years. How and why it was created and why it is possible. Let's go back in time a little. 150 years ago, a British researcher, Alfred Russel Wallace, discovered this mysterious line. He did not know that his discovery would one day shock the whole world. In fact, Wallace's life was also very dramatic. Born in a simple family in England, Alfred was interested in studying since childhood. However, family hardship forced him to leave his studies and live with his father, who was a cartographer.
Forced him to travel with him. But this decision was the most important in his life and for our world as well. He started traveling to different places where he got acquainted with the natural environment and started collecting various types of plants, animals, and insects. Thus, in 1854, he took a boat 35 kilometers away to the island of Lombok, and after arriving there, he realized for the first time that something unusual was happening. Here, he saw animals that he had never seen before: Komodo dragons, kangaroos, koalas, all these strange animals. Where did these animals come from? Why are they not on Bali or other islands? Wallace and his companions were quite surprised. Here, a big question came to him. Why do so many strange animals live on this island? He understood that some power was at work. However, this mysterious situation made him think. But it took a few more days to come to the solution, and during that time, he had to suffer from a strange disease that forced him to rest in one place. And during that rest, a remarkable idea first came to his mind about this mysterious line, and this thought was the first step on the path to making him unforgettable throughout the world.
While Alice was resting, a strange thought came to her mind. She realized that what was happening here was not ordinary. The diversity between the animals, birds, and fish of Bali and Lombok was not ordinary. Some great invisible force kept them apart. But what was that force? Wallace's mind began to race. 3 questions were swirling in her mind. First, why don't the animals on these two islands interact with each other? Second, why can't the birds cross this invisible boundary? And third, why are the fish on both sides so different? At one point, Wallace thought that something mysterious was happening, and he developed a theory based on his observations. Wallace said that Bali and Lombok were once connected to each other. Long ago, when the world was completely separate, the continents of Asia and Australia were together. But when the Earth's temperature increased and the seawater rose, these two continents began to separate and became separate. According to Wallace's theory, the animals that live on Bali are mainly Asian animals, such as elephants, tigers, and many other species of animals. And those who live on the island of Lombok are Australian animals, such as kangaroos, koalas, and Komodo dragons. And these animals cannot mix with each other because they were separated millions of years ago, when a continent broke away from the Earth and new islands and seas were created. This theory not only explains the diversity of animals at that time, it also changed our understanding of the world from a scientific point of view. Although many years later, we have now come to know through science that our world was never the same. It is a moving planet where the continents are gradually separating from each other through plate tectonics, and it is still going on. However, Wallace's work went one step further. He proved that not only the animals, but the entire environment has changed. The sea, water, air, soil have all changed, and this change is not visible to any human eye. But those who study nature, the environment, and animals should be able to touch this invisible wall with their hands. And Wallace's realization was a groundbreaking discovery. His theory was so profound that it forced us to rethink everything to understand this mysterious world. Really, think about what is there in just 35 kilometers that animals, fish, and birds on both sides cannot cross.